Hi, welcome back to Talk with TQ. And I have another great guest today. I really feel proud to be interviewing him. He's an artist, but often artists do, their own form of philanthropy, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're digging in their pockets. Sometimes it means that they're getting money from other people, but often philanthropy could be through your actions. The guest I have today, his name is Tim Gillen, and he, in my mind, in my estimation, is a philanthropist because he does very, very worthy work to help people globally. And he's not looking for anybody to show a lot of bells and whistles. You might not have heard of him, but you heard of him today. He's going to talk about a project he's engaged in that he is actually the founder of. It's called the Everett in Austin Project, and also how he's helping to feed people in Africa. Welcome, Tim. It's so nice to have you here.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes. Now, I hope I got everything accurate, but I know you can elaborate on this.
Pretty close.
Now, your project, the Everett and Austin Project, is about your two sons.
That's right.
And you kind of took a sad situation and turned it into something very worthy and very good. You have some knowledge of the disease that they suffered from. Could you tell us about this? Because most people don't know about this form of muscular dystrophy.
Sure. Yeah, there's over 40, well, now they say over 60 different kinds of muscular dystrophy. Mm-hmm. And the kind that my boys had was Duchenne. Muscular dystrophy, and it's one of the most severe forms. It's right up there with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. And with Lou Gehrig's disease, the onset is later in life, and it takes a couple of years before people pass on. And with Duchenne, it's almost immediately recognizable, the characteristics, and once they're born. And my boys were diagnosed when they were age 3 and 1, and that was in 1997. And with Duchenne, it takes 15 to 20 years before they pass away. That's the life expectancy.
It's very, very sad. It is. Now, I saw some video that you took, and it was as if you were documenting their lives, which seems very appropriate. Did you know that they had the disease before you started taking the videos, or did they find out? Did the doctors tell you, like, soon after they were born? Like, when did you know?
Yeah, in 1997 is when we knew, and I do have videos. You've probably seen the video from 1997 and 2003. Those are the ones that I've posted pretty much. There's a little bit from 1994 when Everett was born, but I don't know if you saw that part. But
I might have. I watched a lot of video. Yeah, and they seemed like delightful kids.
Yeah.
And I think that the average person, someone like me, I would not have known in the beginning that there was anything wrong with them. Everything seemed so normal.
In the beginning, yeah, it's not too noticeable, but my ex-wife, she noticed when Everett was 3 that he was not jumping up and down on the couch like the neighbor girl was, and they were the same age. And so, he was holding on to the edge, afraid to fall, and she was like bouncing like on a trampoline.
Yeah.
And so then she told me, and I was in denial. I was like, no way, not my kids,
Yeah.
And it did come between us, I think, the trauma of the disease, my ex-wife and I.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it was devastating to both of you. It's puts a lot of stress on any relationship, any family relationship, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I see that you were, in looking at the video footage that I saw, it seemed that you were helping them to have a normal life. I think that's very commendable.
Thank you.
So how did the project start? The Everett and Austin Project. What precipitated you to actually embark upon this? It's an actual full-blown charity.
Yeah, it's not 501c3 yet, but that's the plan because I only started it about 3.5 months ago.
Okay.
And basically the idea behind it was generated because I watched a video by NTV News Uganda by Josephine Karungi, and it's online. And it's a 5-minute video of this man named Paul Kayonga, and he lives in a small village in Uganda near the capital, but it's still very small and remote and poor. And he has had 5 boys born with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and he's already lost 2 boys, like I have, to the disease. And one of his was 25, and the other was 24. My boys passed at age 22 and 16, and he has 3 more.
Oh, wow.
That are going through this disease right now in abject poverty.
That's awful.
And when I watched the video, my heart just went out because I could tell the mannerisms of the 3 boys, and how they pushed on their legs to get up from the floor, the ones that still could do that.
Yeah.
And how thick the calf was. That my boys had very thick calf muscles, and people used to compliment, "Wow, your kids are going to be football players." And I'm like, no, they're not, And so it was kind of awkward,
Yeah.
because it's a sign of the disease to have thick calves, but that's just because the muscle cells are dying and depositing down into the calf.
Right.
But Paul's 3 boys that remain, one is 16, and the other boys I think are 11 or 10 or 12, somewhere in there. And on the video, I could see that they had one rickety wheelchair,
Yeah.
and no Hoyer lift, and many other of the conveniences that we had here in America that were, thankfully given to us by the Muscular Dystrophy Association, the MDA,
Okay.
and the state of Minnesota. They were very generous with helping us take care of the boys, but there's nothing like that in Uganda.
Yeah.
And so another project I learned about in Uganda is Child Crisis Center Uganda.
Right.
And there's a man there he's a deacon in the United Methodist Church, and him and his wife and 3 kids his name is Zalambi Joseph, and he's a phenomenal man of God, I believe, and he's pretty much, devoted his life to have this orphanage in a very remote part of Uganda. And there's 60 orphan kids there now, and they're raising money for chairs and seats for the kids, and also for a water project, because right now the kids have to walk 4 to 6 miles to a lake that is full of snakes and crocodiles to get water to bring back to the school where they're staying. There's 60 of them.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I want to get to some statistics in a minute too about sub-Saharan Africa, but let me tell you about Zalambi. He told me that there are 5 of those 60 boys with muscular dystrophy, and they have not yet been to a doctor. And so they're about age 10 or so. And he sent a couple videos of 2 of the boys, and, they were walking very poorly, very difficult, with a lot of difficulty. And so my heart just went out to them to want to help them. And they have no wheelchairs, none, and no Hoyer lift, nothing, no running water, no electricity. It's dire. The needs are dire in sub-Saharan Africa. And so, I want, like you said, I want to turn this tragedy of Everett and Austin passing away into something that honors their name.
So how common is it, this Duchenne, you're pronouncing it Duchenne?
Yeah.
Muscular dystrophy, how common is it?
Yeah.
In the United States?
Duchenne itself, that's not counting muscular dystrophy as a whole, but just Duchenne, there's 1 in 5,000 boys, because it hits boys, 1 in 5,000 boys that have the disease.
It doesn't hit girls.
Well, not this form, because it's on the X chromosome.
Right.
And, the science of it is that to make a boy, you get the X from the mom, one of the X's, and the Y from the dad.
Yeah.
And so my ex-wife, she had one good X and one bad X. XX makes a woman. And so because she had a good X, she didn't show for the disease.
Yeah.
It compensated for the bad X, but the 50-50 chance of our boys getting the good or the bad, they got the bad, and that's with Duchenne. That's how it happens. It's a mutation on the X chromosome.
So it's odd because it happens to boys, but the way you're describing it, and from what I understand about genetics, it sounds like the disease is with the mother.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm wondering, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, does it run in her family? Did you know this going in? And, you just took the chance. Yeah.
No.
No?
That's not how it happens.
No?
No, a lot of people ask that. It's a good question, but my ex-wife was tested in the early 1980s.
Okay.
Before they discovered the gene, and she was told that she was not a carrier.
Oh, I've heard that before on other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. It's because science advances and they're able to identify the genes with more technology.
Yep. And so when we got married in 1992, we were under the impression that she was not a carrier and the boys, any of our kids would be fine.
Right.
And so as it turned out, in 97, 5 years later, after we got married, then we ended up having 2 boys. And not to fault her or anything, but the gene was found in 1986. And she could have been tested after that, but she wasn't. And I'm glad she wasn't. Because we had Everett and Austin, and I love them. And as many with handicaps know that, we start to accept it as it is. And I'm very glad that I had Everett and Austin. Yeah,
and in seeing the videos and watching them, sort of, in a way, you let us kind of watch them grow up a little bit.
Yep.
It seemed like it was worth it. And I wouldn't want to give the impression that I would think that even if you knew that she was a carrier, I'm not making a statement about whether, you shouldn't have married her and had children with her or not.
Right.
But in looking at the videos, from my point of view, it seems that they were just absolutely delightful kids.
They were
beautiful to look at.
And I'd like to share a couple of things I learned from them, some really big things, because it's a horrible disease, and it was very difficult to watch them losing abilities like being able to walk around age 10 and other things like being able to brush their teeth and scratch their eyebrow. In the end, they couldn't scratch their eyebrow by themselves. But 2 things that I learned about them that are really important in life, and one of them is to make the most of each moment, make the most of each day. Seize the day, carpe diem, whatever you want to call it. It's, don't take things for granted, because, as a young dad coming into with having 2 boys, then I kind of took it for granted that they were going to be baseball stars and all this. And as it turned out, that didn't happen. But they are stars of a different kind.
Yes, yes.
But definitely make the most of this moment. That's a huge deal. And then secondly is contentment. And a lot of people have tons and tons of money and everything, and they're not content. But my boys were content. It's a huge deal to be happy with what things are. I remember about 10 years ago, Everett, I asked him, my oldest boy was Everett. I asked him, do you ever wish you could ski? And he says, no, that would hurt.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kept my dad hat on, and I didn't try to explain what I meant, that, to have the ability to ski. And I just kind of thought about what he was saying, and he was fine with how he was.
Yeah.
He accepted how he was, and he was content with how he was, And then a few years later, his brother, Austin, I was in their mom's kitchen. I was teasing him about the Yankees because I love the Yankees. And I said, Jeter did something, blah, 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 and the Yankees won or something. And then they're like, oh, great, Dad, thanks, because they hated baseball, because I talked about it so much. So, and then my youngest, Austin, he says, Dad, I just don't get it why people want to run around in a circle just to get back to the same spot. And so that was contentment too, That's how they saw the world.
Yeah. Yeah, children are I find it very zen-like, which I think might be a good way to be.
Yeah.
It's hard to live in the present. So that is something you learn. That's wonderful. Now, you've actually done some traveling as well.
Yes.
And you have a project, the Children's Crisis something or other.
Child Crisis Center Uganda.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And there's a board in the Northeast here. There's 3 or 4 members of the board, and then Zalambi Joseph. He's the director of the orphanage in far southeastern Uganda on the equator.
Mm-hmm. So it's an orphanage. Mm-hmm. How old are the children in the orphanage?
They range, I would say, from age 5 to 12, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah. Why are they orphaned? Mm-hmm. Why are they orphaned?
Yeah.
That's a question for you.
And I don't think I can speak authoritatively to that, but what I've learned and what I think is happening is that the boys or the children, there's girls too, the children are dropped off when they have something wrong with them, or the parents can't afford to take care of them, or the grandparents can't afford, because the grandparents are more responsible for bills for children in Uganda, but they can't afford to take care of them or whatever, so they're dropped off. With muscular dystrophy, what I learned is, and other diseases over there, they're kept in the backyard.
Ooh.
Because it's like they're looked at as being cursed.
Right.
And so you want to keep the cursed one in the backyard. And they don't know it's genetics,
Yeah.
They blame it on evil spirits and whatnot. And that's the traditional mindset anyway. I mean, there's a lot of people in Uganda now that I've met that are, very modern. Very modern. I mean, I don't mean to fault that. It's an up-and-coming country. I love Uganda.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of wonderful things happening there. Josephine Karunji and NTV News Uganda is one of them for sure.
So this dropping off children at an orphanage, it almost seems like a form of compassionate abandonment, or as compassionate as they could possibly be.
I would say that's probably the best way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Paul Kayunga has not dropped off his 3 Duchenne muscular dystrophy boys. In fact, his wife left him 5-6 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because she had had enough. And so she left the family.
Right.
And Paul stuck with them.
Did she believe it was a curse?
I'm not sure exactly. I don't have the exact answer on that. But what Josephine says in the news video report is apparently tired. That's what Josephine says. Yeah. And she doesn't know that she was the carrier. Oh. Because they only found out about the genetics of it in 2017 and what these boys were dying from in 2017.
Yeah.
Only a couple of years ago they found out about this, thanks to Josephine and Korsu Rehabilitation Hospital in Kampala, Uganda. And but who knows where the mother is now and who she married or who she's having kids with now without even knowing that she's the carrier.
Wow. Well, let's hope for the best on that one. That's a real strong thought right there.
Yeah. So awareness is one of the goals of the Everett and Austin project, in education.
Yeah.
Because, not only for the orphanage kids in Child Crisis Center Uganda, one of the big things that Zalambi wants to do there is, the education is a very high priority for the kids, so that they can grow up and make changes, and learn from all this.
Right, and make plans for themselves, even if it's whatever the time period would be that they're going to be on this earth with us.
Yep.
It sounds like a lot of pressure for parents.
Yeah. In poverty, yeah.
In poverty on top of everything else. Tell me about the project and how the Child Crisis Center can be helped to help.
Yeah, they have Zalambi and the board has. They need $1,185 for chairs for the children. I think it's 1185, pretty much right around that number for chairs, because they got enough money for chairs for the they call them seats in Uganda, but they got enough seats for the teachers, the new teachers.
Yeah.
But there's 60 kids. They need $1,185 for the seats for the kids, and then they need $4,000 for a water project to get this big tank set up to harvest rainwater, so that they can filter it and everything too, because water, healthy and clean water is a big problem to overcome over there.
So if they had something like that, that would alleviate the burden of having to walk 6 miles to the alligator-ridden pond.
Yep, crocodiles. I say alligators sometimes too.
Sorry, crocs. Sorry, alligators. I know you're different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure the difference, but
but I just think that but seriously, I think that's in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah. And I really hope your project can generate this.
Right.
Like I had said to you when we spoke, I said there are things I could teach you about that and help you with on that.
I'm open.
And in terms of the fundraising, and there are other people that know even more than I do about those kind of things, because it's most certainly a worthy project. And I would hope that there's some kind of research being done to find a cure. But I guess under the umbrella of muscular dystrophy, there's research being done.
True.
Jerry Lewis being the most famous fundraiser that I know.
Right.
I'm wondering is this disease under that umbrella?
Well, the MDA is just an American thing.
Yeah.
MDA USA, and so they help Americans, and we got a lot of help from them. I'm very thankful.
Yeah, that's good.
But unfortunately, I've reached out to them for help to see if they could help the Everett and Austin project get rolling, and they're like, nope, we just help Americans. So, I mean, not to fault them, but it's been tough to find some support for the project, and
it's good that they stay focused. But at the same time, if you look at the universe, we're like one tiny little planet, So it's like that's the way I look at things. I think that I believe that there's someone out there that has the money and compassion. To really help,
I agree.
And I hope that being on my show will help.
Thank you.
But so what are your next plans? Like, what's your next step? Do you have any events planned, fundraising events planned for this?
Well, I'm in discussions with a director for a documentary about the boy's life and the whole story and the Everett and Austin project and what we're trying to do to help the poor in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
I want to go to Uganda as soon as possible. I was a missionary for 9 years.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I was a missionary with Wycliffe Bible Translators from 1989 to 1998. Okay. So about 9 years. And the year after the boys were diagnosed with Duchenne is when we stopped. It's a long story, but that definitely played a role in my 20-year hiatus from being a missionary. And I want to get back into it and get over there and help funnel the funds to the right people. These 5 boys in Child Crisis Center Uganda orphanage, there's 5 of the boys that need wheelchairs. I want to make sure go into the stores in Kampala, get these $180 wheelchairs, and bring one to each of those 5 boys, and bring one to each of Paul's 3 boys. And Hoyer lifts too.
Yeah, tell people what Hoyer lifts are. I know what they are, but tell our audience what a Hoyer lift is and why it's so important.
Yeah, Hoyer lifts are a big deal. And I didn't realize this until when Everett was about age 11, and I was still picking him up under the arms and putting him in his wheelchair. And he says, "Daddy, could you use the Hoyer lift?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." He says, "Because it hurts when you just pick me up like that, and basically the muscles are so weak that the chest crushes into the lungs and it hurts." And so by putting the mesh garment or whatever it's called underneath, and then lifting them up with the hydraulic lift, and then swing them over into the chair gently as it does, then it's much more bearable.
Right.
But even in the video for Paul Kayunga and his 3 boys that NTV News did, I didn't see any Hoyer lifts in it.
Yeah.
And Paul was picking the boys up from under the shoulders, and the oldest boy was 16.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I'm sure it hurts, and if you watch the video closely, you'll see one of the younger boys, when Paul is putting him into the chair, he kind of cringes like he's going watch it, Daddy, to be careful to not hurt Julius. Julius is the older boy.
Yeah, these little details, and they're really, a big deal.
Yeah.
I see this as a big deal.
Yep.
I'm wondering if you've been in touch with any other charities or organizations here, the United Nations or the U.S. Embassy, the Ugandan Embassy. Is there one in New York? I'm just wondering about that.
That's a great idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, see, I just thought.
I need help.
Yeah, there we go. So there's your first bit.
Yeah.
I think that it's very, very worthy cause. And how can someone donate to your Everett and Austin project if they choose to, because you have that online already. I think that the money that you're talking about is not a tremendous, unachievable goal. I believe that it's such a good cause. So is there a web address where they can contribute? What is that?
The main web address is the everettandaustinproject.org.
Okay.
And of course, if you go on Facebook and you just type in the Everett and Austin Project, then you'll find our Facebook page on there.
All right. And even if they put your name in, that might be simpler for people to remember. Sure. Tim Gillen.
Yep.
And so, and I've actually found out about you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It's where I live, because I meet the most interesting people, on LinkedIn.
That's true.
That are doing some really interesting and worthy work. Well, I thank you so much, Tim. I wish that we had more time to talk, but you'll have to come back.
Please, yeah.
And I would really love to give you some of the ideas that I know of to help you with your project.
That'd be great.
And the Everett and Austin Project.org is a very worthy cause to donate to. It's, I would call, an underserved population that they're dealing with, to bring awareness to this rare form of muscular dystrophy called Duchenne. Correct?
Yes.
And please go there. Please check it out. You can also go on LinkedIn and find me, Tony Quest, but you can go on LinkedIn and you can talk to Tim Gillen, all right, which is where I found him. And I thank everybody for coming to the show. And I look forward to having everybody come back again. And I always promise I'll have someone really interesting to talk to for you to meet. Thanks again. Bye-bye.